we must go and invite people
And
to
that's
go.
why something like Top Golf has succeeded.
Absolutely. I was just there Saturday. Today's Monday. I was there Saturday, and it was teeming with people. And I was just sitting there. We hit for about an hour, but it was chilly day. So then we were inside grabbing a bite, and it was just exciting to see all the people. You could tell, like, many of them had never picked up a club and may have not thought about picking up a club prior to arriving there, but they were having fun. It didn't matter that they were holding it with the craziest grip ever. It didn't
We're doing
matter
it in
that,
high heels.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Doing it in the high heels. The only requisite is like no tin cup. We can't have running starts, but they were having fun. And I was telling a friend that I was with, like, this is why they're succeeding at quantum rates. And if we could grab a bit more of that.
If you could design, and you probably have it now, but if somebody came to you, it's not me, okay, just not getting you disappointed in me or off the gap. But if it was one of those things where somebody came to you and said, here's $1 million venture capital, design a facility how you want to for that group that you want to teach, what would you do? And the reason I'm asking this is I want everybody who's thinking this to think about it. So many of us are in our teaching, so many of us are coaching, so many of us are world and our business. And we're always complaining about what we have, but nobody ever sits down and says, if I could do this over, what would I do? Because you really can, you just got to build that. So what would you do?
The facility would be focused on learning and fun. It is daunting. I mean, it can be daunting for me. I mean, I had a hand injury, so I don't hit the ball nearly as far as I used to. I mean, it's some of these holes and on courses around the world, I'm going like, this is designed for Dustin Johnson. This is surely not designed for me.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty good golfer. So the design would have to remove the intimidation. I frankly begin with success. So many of my lessons, we begin on the green because, it's like Pavlov's theory.
Yeah.
The sound of success with the ball going into the hole, we all know, we love that sound. Golfers love that sound.
Absolutely.
And so if we spend our first time together with you hearing that sound 30 times, you like the sound. We may start out 3 feet from the hole. By the end of that, we're maybe a little further on the green. Now we're moving out. We're just moving out, which is a pitch shot to those of us who know the technical name, but you don't really care. You just know that you're able to hit the ball into the air and it's getting closer to the hole. Fun, success. I'm liking this. We move it back a little bit. We just work our way in versus standing at a tee box 404 yards away and saying, okay, you see that flag? We got to get this little ball there when we're struggling to get the ball into the air.
It reminds me of that Robin Williams comedy thing of, have you seen that one of him getting off the airplane in Scotland and going, what do you mean? We're going to take a stick with a thing in the bottom and try to hit a ball over a tree? And
Exactly. It is daunting and it doesn't sound very fun. Particularly if you're not, some people grasp, some people, they pick up a club, you explain a few things, we get ball, we get posture, ball position, all those, things together, boom. They may enjoy success. It's not like that for everyone, but that does not mean that it cannot be fun. We will get there. We will, give you sound fundamentals, and you're going to get there. You're going to have some fun, but you have to let people know that goals are attainable, and there's not a goal with golf. So everyone's not going to, have a perfect, posture as we would like a perfect classic posture, because here's the reality. By the time many adults come to us, they have lived enough that they've got issues. They may have a bad back, a funny hand, the list goes on and on, which should not limit them from enjoying golf. So, which is why I always say, how you come to the lesson tee is absolutely perfect. It's where we're starting. It's not, you're not behind, you're not deficient, none of that.
Yeah. That's so good. I always tell people to embrace their variance. Just live in your band, like your normal flow. What worries you about golf instruction and the game? Because you always hear people say, "Oh God, it's a speed game now." But what worries you?
I'm worried about, frankly, a lot of the arrogance that I see and that that I've witnessed, that I've experienced,
yeah,
and that I hear about so often. That is worrying.
So having two daughters that grew up playing in the game, and the reason I played baseball growing up, I started playing golf when I was 5, and I played because my dad was retired. It was in the military, and we played on the base. And then I went away from it for a while and came back to it. And it's my, golf is the game that some people play for a living that most of us play as a hobby.
That's right.
People don't go out and play baseball. People don't really go out and play football for a hobby. People don't go out and cheer for a hobby. If we did, we'd all probably look at everyone funny. But golf, clubs. I heard a great talk at the PGA show by Dottie Pepper one year, and Dottie was talking about how she grew up, and she said, "I grew up at a course where the 4th hole came back to the clubhouse, so the juniors at the end of the day could go out and play 4 holes but not be stuck." And I think about my courses that I'm a member at. We have 2 courses. The 5th hole, the 4th and 5th hole at both courses is the furthest from the clubhouse. It is absolutely at the tip of how far away the designer wanted you.
Exactly.
To call, if my daughters, until they can learn to drive a cart at 16, okay, which for them to go out and play on the golf course by themselves, it was impossible. And then what I've told them too as members is now, okay, so now I'm going to bring my kids out. I don't have a problem paying for it, but let's play the game here. I take my 2 daughters out to play golf. And while there's not really a junior cart rate. So now I'm paying for 3 people to play 9 holes at probably $24 a piece. So I've just now plopped down almost $100 to take them out on the golf course where they may not even play every hole.
Exactly.
Golf people, we got to do better than that.
We've got to do better than that. Exactly that. I mean, you're right. I mean,
and I know somebody's listening and saying, well, fat butt, you should walk it, but you don't understand. It's impossible. It's impossible.
It's impossible. When from the green to the next tee is a quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
Up a hill, up a mountainside.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not fun for kids.
It's not fun for kids. And again, it goes back to many of the adults that I speak with and that arrive on my lesson tee. For some of them, that is not even physically possible.
Yeah.
So
the arrogance is funny, not a funny thing, is a sad thing, but it's funny you say that because my daughters have heard the same thing. I mean, we're members of the club. We've been there since we moved here. The people know them. But it's amazing to hear some of the comments that are made. And what I've always been shocked about is that people don't realize that when you're shaming kids for them playing, you're really telling the family that the next generation that's coming in isn't good enough for your club.
You're exactly right.
Because
exactly what you're telling them.
Yeah, it's amazing. How do you fight that? How does the PGA of America, how does the LPGA of America, how does the golf coaching associations that you're affiliated with, how do we change that?
It starts. It's a large task, and I think that it voices making statements such as this have to become a bit louder and a bit more consistent. I think that maybe with that process, more and more catching on, but the reality is as the bottom line begins to change and potentially erode, all of a sudden the voice will become more and more important. Now, the great hope is that we don't have to wait until things are just so bad that we've got to make massive changes. But I think if we take some best practices and look at some other activities and other sports that have been successful in embracing a culture in which you want to build a life, you want to build a life cycle. You know, you want to be able to capture someone, individuals, and keep them. As you mentioned, there are many sports where that's not necessarily applicable, but you've got to do that. Like for example, one of the things that, as I've mentioned, I've been in tennis my entire life. When I was a little girl, picking up my first racket, which was probably weighed as much as I did. It was a little, heavy wooden racket, and I was a two-hander on both sides because I was about the size of a little pencil. I remember the very first lesson I took. I remember I was at the baseline with my little racket here, and the coach, Mr. Calvin, he told me, he said, no, Greta, move forward. And I took a step forward. I was a pretty shy little girl. I took a step forward. He's like, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. And he basically put me inside the service line. And so essentially he just made a mini court for us. Well, you fast forward 25 years, I guess at that point, I can't recall exactly when the USTA and the rest of the tennis industry realized, if we want children to embrace this early on, we need to make this children friendly. So now there's an official size court to teach children on. There's official size kiddie equipment, which of course we have in golf. The balls are a little softer, so they can develop their strokes, their stroke production, play, just like mom and dad are playing on the bigger court. And when they grow up and get a little bit stronger, they move right on over. They've created it so, and it's user-friendly and it's fun. And that's what we have to do. We have to make it user-friendly and fun.
And then now as you get older, you have pickleball.
Huge.
Unbelievable how big pickleball is.
Pickleball is huge.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
I know. I have one of my professional golfers, and he's probably listening to this. He's like, I got a new hobby. It's pickleball. I'm like, I know what it is. You're not old enough for it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious.
Well, it's kind of, if you look at that bell curve, it kind of works. I mean, I don't play much tennis anymore, but it's kind of like riding a bike. I'm still a pretty good tennis player. But I was kind of thinking like, pickleball, I could do that. I mean, I was a volleyer in my day. So I'm like, that could kind of be my thing.
Do that. Yeah.
Kind of be my thing. Yeah. So exactly.